I spent my entire high school experience being bullied, and my mom did nothing about it because she was dating the father of one of the girls who tormented me. Years later, I finally got my revenge. I'm 22 now, and I haven't really been home in 4 years. I left at 18 for college, and after graduation, I got a job nearby, so I never moved back. I'd visit occasionally, sure, but I didn't miss the place. Honestly, there wasn't much to miss. My childhood and teenage years were full of pain and isolation. After my dad died when I was 10, things got tough. We weren't destitute, there was always food on the table, but we barely scraped by. On top of that, I was tall, awkwardly thin, and looked out of place, which only made me more of a target. Kids called me Slender Man, and worse. I laughed it off the best I could, but it stung more than I let on. High school made everything worse. That's where the bullying got cruel. A particular group of girls made it their mission to humiliate anyone they could, but I seemed to be their favorite target. Their insults chipped away at every bit of confidence I had. My appearance, the way I lived, nothing was off limits. I started wishing I could just disappear. One time, they made fun of me for my jeans. They stopped just above my ankles because I was too tall for them. I didn't want to ask my mom for a new pair. Money was tight, and I knew it. But they wouldn't stop laughing. I ended up fleeing to the bathroom in tears, locking myself in a stall. After a few minutes of crying, I tried to leave, only to realize the door had been locked from the outside. I could hear them laughing on the other side. They only left when a janitor came by and let me out. After that incident, I wanted to take action, to speak up, but I couldn't. My mom shut it down before I even had a chance. When I first told her about the bullying, she brushed it off. She told me to keep quiet and not make a big deal out of it. I never understood why. I asked her over and over, but she always said the same thing. We were poor, and it wasn't worth starting fights we couldn't finish. She said she was too busy working and couldn't afford to come to school to argue with some girls' parents. She insisted I tough it out. Eventually, she flat out banned me from reporting it myself, saying it would just cause more drama, and she didn't have the energy to deal with any of it. So I stayed silent. Not because I wanted to, but because she asked me to. And I knew how hard she worked, so I felt like I owed her that. After high school, I left for college in another state, and it felt like the breath of fresh air I'd been craving for years. Thankfully, my dad had set up a college fund before he passed, so tuition was covered, and my mom would still send me money now and then. I picked up a part-time job after classes, just to keep busy and have some cash to spend. For once, life started to feel a little bit normal. In college, life finally began to feel different, better. I had enough money from my part-time job to buy a few new outfits, and thankfully, the people around me were more mature. No one mocked me anymore. Everyone was kind and respectful. It was the first time in years I felt like I could just exist without constantly being judged. I still visited home during the holidays, mostly to see my mom and catch up with a few old friends. But deep down, I was always relieved to leave. That house, that whole town was soaked in memories I didn't want to relive. Then, a few days ago, I came home for Christmas. This was my first time coming back as a working adult, so I thought I'd do something nice for my mom, a small thank you for everything she'd done despite how hard it had been. I bought her a beautiful dress and a pair of shoes to match. I was excited to surprise her. But before I could, she surprised me instead. A few days before my flight, she texted me to say she'd been seeing someone for a couple of months and felt it was finally time to introduce me to him. She said I was old enough to understand and accept it. I was genuinely happy for her. She'd been single for so long after losing my dad, and I figured maybe she'd found someone who made her feel less alone. I thought it was odd that she'd never mentioned him before, but I brushed it off. Maybe she just wanted to be sure before involving me. When I asked for his name, she wouldn't tell me. Said it was all part of the surprise. I figured it was harmless. I was wrong. When I got home a few days ago, she told me her boyfriend and his kids were already there. She blindfolded me and said she wanted the introduction to be extra special. I laughed, played along. I was holding a box of chocolates and a bouquet of flowers, thought I was about to meet the people who might become part of our family. But when the blindfold came off, my heart dropped straight into my stomach. Standing in front of me, smiling like we were old friends, was one of the girls who had made my high school years a living hell. The one who had tormented me endlessly. And now she was standing there, hand in hand with a teenage boy who had to be her little brother. Her father, my mom's wonderful boyfriend, was already talking, trying to introduce himself, but I couldn't hear a word. My brain just shut down. Everything blurred. I stared for a few seconds in total disbelief, then turned around and walked away, mid-sentence, while he was still trying to be friendly. I went straight to my old room, locked the door behind me, and tried to steady my breath. My chest felt tight, and my head was spinning. Not long after, my mom came upstairs and started scolding me for being rude and told me I needed to come back downstairs and apologize. I stopped her right there. I asked how long she'd been seeing this man. I needed the truth, because I was starting to think this wasn't some innocent coincidence. She hesitated. And that hesitation told me everything. Eventually, she admitted they'd been together for nearly 7 years. 7 years. Suddenly, it all clicked into place. All those times in high school when she told me to stay silent, to toughen up, to stop complaining about being bullied, it wasn't about money or work. It was because she was already dating the father of the girl who was tormenting me. She didn't want to rock the boat with them, even if it meant letting me suffer. She chose them over me. I couldn't believe what was happening. My own mother, the one person I thought would always protect me, had knowingly kept me in the dark for years. I told her to leave me alone. I didn't want to see her. I couldn't even stand the sight of her. She tried to defend herself, saying she'd kept everything from me because she knew how much I missed my dad, as if that had anything to do with why I was so furious. I cut her off. I told her exactly why I was angry, because she lied to me. For years. She allowed me to suffer, even though she had every chance to stop it. Instead of standing up to her boyfriend and asking him to parent his daughter, to teach her not to bully people, she chose silence. And I don't think I'll ever be able to forgive her for that. She tried again to justify it. Said things were new back then between her and the boyfriend, and she didn't want to jeopardize what they were building. She kept trying to defend the girl who made my life miserable. But I couldn't listen to it anymore. Eventually, she left my room and said she'd be waiting when I was ready to talk. She mentioned dinner would be at 9 and that I should come down. As if this was just any regular family dinner. But I didn't want to talk. Not to her. Not to anyone. I was shaking with rage not just because of what happened, but because of the years I spent thinking my mom was powerless, when really, she chose not to help me. She wasn't being a mom, she was being a girlfriend. And in doing so, she betrayed me. As I sat there in my old room, the same place where I'd cried myself to sleep so many nights, the anger just kept building. The weight of everything felt unbearable, all the memories, all the silence, all the lies. And in a moment of pure emotion, maybe stupidity, I called the police. I didn't even think it through. I just wanted something to be done, some kind of justice. I told them I wanted to press charges against my mom for what she'd done to me, for neglect, for emotional harm. It probably wasn't the smartest move, but I was spiraling. I wasn't thinking clearly. The officers came. I tried to explain, but it was hard to put everything into words. My mom and her boyfriend dismissed it all, saying I was being hysterical. The police could tell I was in distress, and one of them gently told me that I'd probably be better off speaking to a family lawyer. Eventually, they left. But I was still shaking, barely holding it together. I felt a panic attack coming on, the tight chest, the spinning thoughts, the dizziness. I tried to head back to my room to calm down, but my mom snapped. She blocked me, yelling that I was an ungrateful brat. That calling the police on her was the lowest thing I could have done. Her boyfriend stood beside her, backing her up, saying I'd gone too far. I wanted to argue, to fight back, but I couldn't breathe properly. My vision was going fuzzy. And then, I blacked out. The next thing I remember was waking up in the emergency room. Turns out I'd passed out from a mix of stress, dehydration, and not eating. I hadn't touched any food or water since I'd arrived, and my body just couldn't handle it anymore. When the nurse explained what happened, it finally made sense. I'd apparently been unconscious for about an hour before I finally came to. My mother had been waiting around to see me, and for a moment, I felt a flicker of guilt. But that quickly disappeared the second she opened her mouth. She sat beside me and, with a straight face, told me that while she understood I felt betrayed, she still stood by her choices. According to her, prioritizing her relationship over her daughter was necessary. She didn't apologize. She didn't back down. In fact, she even tried to minimize what I went through in high school, said her boyfriend's daughter didn't mean any harm, that it was just harmless teasing, and I was overreacting. Hearing her defend my bully again, even while I lay in a hospital bed recovering from a breakdown, made my blood boil. And then she had the audacity to say I owed her an apology for calling the police. I told her to get out. Since then, I've checked into a hotel for the remainder of my stay. She didn't try to stop me. Didn't call. Didn't show up. Now, I'm seriously considering taking legal action against her for years of emotional neglect and knowingly denying me a safe, supportive home while I was growing up. I know that suing her would probably destroy whatever is left of our relationship. And that's hard, because I don't really have anyone else. She's the only family I've got. But I also can't keep pretending like what she did was okay. I've spent most of my life brushing things off, trying to keep the peace, excusing the inexcusable. This time, I just can't. No matter how much I try to look at this from her perspective, I can't make it make sense. She let me suffer so she could keep her boyfriend happy. And now she expects me to just let that go? I don't know. Maybe I am the bad guy for thinking about suing her. But I don't feel like one. Update 1. I found out something recently that made everything worse. I was talking to a friend, one of the few people I still stay in touch with from back home, and I told her the whole story. She listened, then quietly admitted that she'd known about my mother and her boyfriend for years. Turns out, everyone in our neighborhood did. The rumors were apparently common knowledge. My mom and that man had been seeing each other since I was a freshman in high school. They worked together at the same hospital. He was a surgeon, she worked at the front desk, and people had spotted them holding hands, sneaking off together, being way too familiar. I'd been completely in the dark. My friend never told me because she didn't believe the gossip and didn't want to stress me out. And of course, the bullies never said a word, probably because the ringleader was his daughter, and it wouldn't have exposed her dad. I was floored. So many people had known, and I had no idea. It made me feel even more isolated, like I'd been walking through my own life with blinders on. I used to beat myself up for being so quiet, so introverted. But now I realized that my silence had kept me in the dark when it mattered most. And the worst part? My mother had been with a married man. The same woman who used to lecture me about loyalty, about the importance of family, had been carrying on an affair behind someone else's back for years. And all while her daughter was being tortured by that man's child. It's sickening. It hit me like a ton of bricks when I finally pieced it all together. My mother hadn't just lied to me recently. She'd been lying for years. This man she called her new boyfriend? He wasn't new at all. He'd left his wife just a few months ago, and since then, he and his younger son had moved in with her. Their daughter, the same girl who made my life hell in high school, had moved out of the city around the same time I had. She probably didn't even know about the living arrangement. So yeah, that whole story about them only dating for a few months was total fiction. The truth? They'd been involved for 8 years. 8! While I was crying myself to sleep in my bedroom upstairs, she was downstairs building a future with the father of the girl who was tormenting me at school. And she had the nerve to act like I had overreacted by calling the police. I'm sickened. Completely disgusted. And she still hasn't reached out to apologize, not once. Update 2. I went through with it. I'm officially suing my mother for emotional distress. My bosses were kind enough to let me work remotely while I deal with this, which I'm beyond grateful for. Since staying at a hotel long-term wasn't realistic, I've moved in with a friend who welcomed me with open arms. Honestly, that alone was a breath of fresh air, to be around someone who actually wants me there. My mom was served with the lawsuit a few hours ago, and as expected, she lost it. She called me, demanding to know what the hell I thought I was doing. I told her exactly what I thought. I was finally holding her accountable. She abandoned me when I needed her the most. She chose her relationship over me. So now she gets to pay, literally, for all the pain she let happen under her roof. Back when I used to beg for her help, she'd always pull out the same excuse. We don't have time. We don't have money. I'm too busy working. But now I know that was all just a smokescreen to cover up what she was really doing. And if money was such a big concern, then maybe she should have thought twice about letting her affair and his daughter wreck my life. I told her flat out, I'll use the money to pay for the therapy I clearly need now. She tried to call me ungrateful, claimed I wouldn't win, said I was just wasting time. But I could hear the uncertainty in her voice. She's scared. And honestly, good. Even if I don't win this case, at least I'll know that I tried. I didn't just sweep it all under the rug like she's been telling me to do my entire life. I've already started reaching out to old classmates and teachers. People who were there. People who saw what happened. Hopefully some of them will have the courage to speak up. So far, I haven't heard anything from her boyfriend or his daughter. But that didn't last long. Update 3. Spoke too soon. It's been 2 days, and my mother's been blowing up my phone nonstop. Every message is the same, telling me I'm making a mistake, that I'll regret this forever, that I'm being dramatic. But the decision's made. There's no turning back now. And today, things got even weirder. She sent someone to talk to me, to apologize, apparently. Not a lawyer. Not her boyfriend. She sent her. My bully. The girl who spent years tearing me down, making me hate school, hate myself. The girl who never once showed a shred of remorse. And now she's knocking on my door, saying she wants to make peace. I didn't know what to say. I didn't want to say anything. I didn't even want to look at her, to be honest. Her face still made something tighten in my chest. I was completely silent. She, on the other hand, started with what I guess was supposed to be an apology. Said she was sorry for how she acted back then. She started her apology with the usual script, that she'd been immature, thoughtless, and cruel in high school. That she regretted it and hoped I could forgive her. I didn't mean it, but I told her I forgave her. Not for her sake, just to get her out of my face. But she didn't leave. Instead, she launched into this ridiculous lecture about how I should now forgive my mother, the way she had forgiven her dad for cheating on her mom. She said she chose to stay in his life because she loved him. Please. The only reason she forgave her father was because he was filthy rich. Her mom didn't put up a fight during the divorce either, not when there were thousands of dollars in settlement money and a steady stream of alimony on the line. So no, her forgiveness wasn't some grand emotional gesture. It was a business decision. And I told her exactly that. Her face turned beet red. She snapped back that I was just jealous that her father sent her money every month while I grew up thinking we were broke. And it turns out we were poor, but my mom still had a secret cash flow from her wealthy boyfriend. She just chose to spend it all on herself while I went without. I don't think she meant to spill that. The moment the words left her mouth, she looked like she wanted to disappear. But it was too late. I'd heard it. And we both knew that was something my lawyer would definitely want to bring up in court. I told her to get out. She did. But not before telling me I was making a mistake, that I was cutting off the only family I had left. But see, that's the thing. I don't see her as family anymore. If my mother had ever stood up for me, if she'd chosen me when I begged for her help, we wouldn't be here now. But she didn't. So here we are. Update 4. Hey everyone. It's been a rough couple of weeks. I won't sugarcoat it. I've been working around the clock, juggling my job and prepping for court. My lawyer's been amazing, but he needs a lot from me too. Documents, timelines, witness statements, everything. It's been exhausting. But finally, we're close. The final court date is right around the corner. And so far, we've proven every claim. Every bit of it. Of course, my mom's boyfriend hired her one of the best family lawyers in the state, no surprise there. The guy has money, and he's using it to drag this out. But truth is truth. And we've got it all documented. My mom stopped texting, but not stopped talking. She, her boyfriend, and his daughter have taken to social media to smear me. Calling me selfish, ungrateful, cruel. Trying to sway people. But here's the thing. People remember me. And most of them remember what I went through. That underdog reputation I had back in high school, turns out it's been helping me now more than ever. So I'm holding on to that. Because if I win this case, it won't just be about the money. It'll mean I finally beat the people who tried to crush me at school, at home, everywhere. Final update. It's over. I won. My wonderful mother was ordered to pay me $50,000 in damages for the intentional emotional harm she caused me. I still can't fully believe it, but it's real. First thing I did was pay off my lawyer. The second was give my friend, the one who took me in without question, $3,000 as a thank you. She didn't ask for it, but she deserved it more than anyone. Next week, I fly back to my real home. Back to the life I've built for myself, far away from this mess. My mom and her boyfriend? They're throwing tantrums online, whining about how the law punished her for being a good parent and calling me greedy and heartless. Whatever helps them sleep at night. My former bully? She's blocked me now. Honestly? Good. Let her stew in her own guilt and regret. Because at the end of the day, I don't need any of them anymore. I won, and they lost. And that's something they're going to have to carry with them forever. And here's what I'll tell you at the very end. You watch to the end, which means you'll like the other format of long stories on this channel.